Have you ever wondered where investors are getting the money to fund their real estate deals? Want to see how one investor bought 4 properties in less than 2 years? From running a bi-coastal real estate business to consulting to help you get your next door, I can't wait for you to meet my next guest on the Aid to Assets podcast so you can hear about all of this and more. This is your Aid to Assets. Welcome to the Aid to Assets podcast, the ultimate podcast for aspiring real estate investors. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson. Join me as we discuss real estate investing for 9-to-5ers. We'll talk about everything from money mindsets and property ownership and different strategies you can use to invest in real estate. I want to empower investors, especially those of us who are working full-time, who want to navigate the world of real estate, uncover the secrets to building wealth, generate passive income to achieve financial freedom. Equip yourself with resources from experts, practical tips, and step-by-step guides on how to kickstart your real estate journey. We'll also hear from 9-to-5ers who started to build their own portfolios, what they did and how they did it, so you can do it too. Tune in and transform your main job into your biggest silent investor in your real estate investment business. This is your Aid to Assets. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson, and I get the opportunity to interview investors who have made the journey into real estate investing and now want to show you how they did it so you can do it too. So I'm super excited about my guest today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, where you are, and what you do.
So my name is Christine Ikekwere. I am located in this beautiful state of California, Southern California, and I'm a clinical pharmacist. So I work in the hospital emergency room and the ICU. I also am a real estate investor, and I started about 2 years ago doing this, and I kind of caught the bug and have not stopped since.
I love it. So y'all go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you have your notebooks. Y'all know how we do it around here. You want to make sure that you are taking notes so you can get these tips, because in case you missed it, Christine just said that she's in California, and we know about that California prices. However, that has not stopped her from becoming a real estate investor. So, Christine, one of the things that we love to do to get started to let people know exactly why they should continue to tune in, we like to start with receipts. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your portfolio and what you've been able to accumulate in 2 years?
At the height of the pandemic, I was able to get a contract working with Kaiser. That's when the vaccine just came out. And so pharmacists were really needed, as well as nurses. But I was able to save up a lot of money during that time and during that contract. And that allowed me to buy my first property. My first property was in North Carolina. It's a single family home. It's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. So from there, I started out with Airbnb. I literally listed it maybe a week after I went to set it up, and immediately it was booked, and it has been booked since then, which has been great. So from there, I used that money for that. And then I was able to get another home in California, which is like a 3-unit complex. So it has a main floor, and then it has a JADU and an ADU. So that's a 3-unit. After that, I got another one in North Carolina, just because the one that I got was doing so well. So I said, hey, why not? So I got another single family home there. It's a 3-1. And I just got another property at auction in Ohio. That is also a 3-1. And then Ashley and I, which you mentioned in the beginning, just closed on a property yesterday. And that's going to be a fix and flip also in Toledo, Ohio. We have about 7 doors, 5 buildings.
Y'all, 7 doors, 5 buildings. Did you hear that? Yeah. I don't care what you're doing, because we're going to talk about the work, because you talked about being a pharmacist in the pandemic, now working in... You're busy. Like, there's no question. You booked and busy, okay? And I also love the fact that none of your properties are in California. So
One of them is the
The tribe.
triplexes.
Okay, so it's possible. Is that what I'm hearing you tell me? It's possible to still be able to get property and invest in California, and you're also willing to do it across the country, because literally across the world in the good old state of North Carolina.
Absolutely, it's definitely
I
possible.
love that. So let's start from the beginning. First and foremost, what is it about real estate investing that made you say, this is where I need to be spending my time and my money?
I grew up just single family, single mom, and I didn't really have a lot. I mean, my mom provided a great environment for me, but I knew I wanted more. Always knew I wanted more. And for me, like looking at my bank account, it'd be nice when I started working. I was like, it was really nice to see a whole good amount in my bank account, and I wanted it to sit there and just look pretty. And I realized I needed my money to work for me because it can sit here, but I can use it and it can be more valuable out there in real estate. So I think once I learned about Airbnb, I was like, oh, I could just set this up and I just need to put a bed in here and I could just put a couch in here and someone will rent it. Like, this is actually easy. And I love staging. So it was a no brainer for me. So when I got into that, and then, like I said, a week later, I was booked and I've been booked since, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. Short-term rentals are my thing. So I started opening up short-term rentals. And then I was like, short-term rentals started to change a little bit. And there was just a lot of people getting into it. And so I was like, you know what, let me try midterm rentals since I am in the healthcare space, might as well open it up to travel nurses and whatnot because I have access to them since I work with them. So that's kind of how it started. And
I love it. Okay, so now you mentioned this first property that you purchased was all the way in North Carolina. Did you have ties in North Carolina? How did that come about?
yeah, so after I finished pharmacy school, I did my residency in Lumberton, North Carolina. But I did do some of my rotations in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I knew about the hospital there that was, always having a high turnover rate. So I said, well, if people are coming and going, then this is where I want to get my first property.
I love that. Now, one of the things that we always tell folks when they're thinking about investing is how do they research the market? And so you mentioned that you were in the area, but how did you get familiar and comfortable enough? What was that process for you to say, this is where I can see my money making more money for me?
I think, like you said, looking for areas was big for me. I think for me, I really wanted someplace that I knew, like even if things didn't work out with Airbnb, I could still either sell it or I can rent it to people long term. I always look for places where there's a lot of traffic, so people are always coming and going. And where I was at, there was more. There was a military base there, so people were always coming and going for training. There was the high turnover of nurses, so I knew that people were always coming and looking for houses. So areas like that, um, they offer they offer a place in which people are going to be looking for housing and furnished housing at that. So that's how I kind of
Amazing. Okay, so you were here when you got your property, correct?
yes, I was here in
Okay,
California.
so walk us through that process. What was it like picking out your property, figuring out this is the one that I want to buy?
First things first is Ashley and I were actually going to buy a property together. That was like our first thing. We were just starting out in real estate. Well, she had already purchased something, but I was just starting out. And I was like, I don't know, like I'm nervous, let's take this slow, slow, slow. So she ended up finding a realtor for us. She interviewed a couple and found a really great realtor. Her name's Rhonda. She's amazing. And we started looking at houses together. And then I was like, you know what? No, I feel a little bit more confident about this process. I had done a little bit more research, and I decided to kind of get my first one on my own just to see how it was. So I got my first one with Rhonda. I just had her I just was on Zillow, I was on Realtor.com, I was looking at houses every day. I had her send me some houses to look at, and anything that I found interesting, I would just tell her like, hey, can you go take a look at it for me? So she'd be on FaceTime with me, showing me the outside, showing me the inside, telling me this is a great neighborhood, this is a not so great neighborhood, this is where rents are high, this is where you want to stay away from. So that I really trusted her. I trusted the realtor in the process, and she led me to a great area that's really close to base. And I've been really lucky ever since. So,
Amazing.
mhm.
Shout out to Rhonda. Ashley definitely
Shout out to
sang her
Rhonda.
kudos when she was here. So y'all, if y'all missed that episode with Ashley, that go back to episode 14. And Ashley talked about how Christine left her hanging while she was trying to figure this out. But I wanna double tap on that, because one of the things that we do here on the show is we're helping investors. We also talk about the importance of having their real estate team. And so we heard from Ashley about why Rhonda was so significant in her journey, but I'd love to hear your perspective. And you kind of started to talk about just like what she was willing to do and the information that she shared with you. Can you share a little bit more about the importance of having a strong realtor on your investment team?
Definitely. Rhonda was very, especially that being my first experience, she set the bar. So she was able to get me comparables for the homes in the area to let me know if I'm getting a good deal, to let me know if the house that I'm purchasing and the offer that I'm putting in is actually reasonable. She had connections with other realtors, the realtor that actually was representing the seller. So she was able to communicate with them and help me get a good deal. She was able to get me the rent comparables. She was able to be available for any issues that I had, any inspections that I had to have. So I didn't have to fly out there. It's not easy to just fly and, just be all around. You know what I mean? So she was really there for everything that I needed. It's so important to have a realtor on your team because they're so versatile. They can do a lot of things, even if you don't need them for a real estate transaction. For example, the property that I bought in Ohio, I had already bought it. There was no real estate. It was at an auction. There was no realtor involved in it. But afterwards, I reached out to a realtor and she's able to coordinate things with my tenant. She's able to coordinate inspections, coordinate repairs, all of that stuff, property management. I don't need to be there. I can count on them to do it. So very valuable asset.
Such good information. Now, you got this Airbnb. You said, how long did it take you to set up your Airbnb?
A week.
A week.
1 week on, 1 week off. So I said, listen, I'm going to book my flight. I'm going to go straight there and get it done.
So you weren't playing any games. So talk to us, especially because you are furnishing a place across the country. So what was that like? Where did you get the furniture? How did you know how you wanted to set it up? What was your thought process behind that?
For me, I got new things. I got brand new things that needed to be new, like mattresses and towels and everything like that. But things that could be, I could get like off of Facebook Marketplace. I would get them like tables, let's say chairs, just like kitchen table chairs or kitchen sets, stuff like that. I got them off of Facebook Marketplace. And the way I would do it is I would set it to like the really, really nice part of town where I knew people would give away or like sell things that weren't really,
Mm-hmm.
weren't really worn in. And so I would do that. I would bargain with them and I kind of had everything scheduled so that, they knew the price that I was paying and I would just show up with my pickup truck and pick it up and pay them the money. So I had everything set up before I even came to North Carolina. I was messaging people. I was on Facebook Marketplace. I was on OfferUp, just trying to get the best deal for things that I needed. Everything else was shipped to the house. And that's another thing Rhonda helped with, receiving the packages and making sure everything was inside and safe. Other than that, I did a Costco run, just stocked up everything in my closet. And I just got to work. When I got there, everything was pretty much there ready for me to set up.
Love it. That's how you do it, because every minute that your property is not listed, you're losing money. And so really taking the time, I know people can get lost in designing and it's like, you got to go in order to make sure that you can start to see your return. So that's super dope. Okay. So let's switch gears now and talk about this 3-unit. Tell us about how that came about.
I moved to Eureka, California, and I moved there for a job. It's kind of by the redwoods. Not a lot of people up there, but it's an up and coming area. And I was renting, and I hate renting. Absolutely hate renting because I think it's just you're just losing money. You're throwing money away. I hated it, but I was doing it because I needed a place to stay, of course. So I was renting. Now I was looking for a place, and I was looking. This is actually before I bought my first property in Fayetteville. I was looking for a place, and I found this triplex that was just being built. It wasn't even done being built, and I was like, oh, they're offering this for sale. Like, this is nice. I like this. So I got on the phone with my realtor and I said, hey, I'm really interested in this property. Can you find out more information about it? So she said, yeah, sure, I can. So she called me back, and she said, hey, just to let you know, if you want this property, they're only accepting offers until 5 p.m. today.
Oh,
I
wow.
said, what? I just found it. I was like, I just found it. Like, what do you mean? I don't even know what to offer. Like, this is my first offer that I'm gonna put in. What's going on? So she basically, me, her, and my mom got on the phone because I was like, Mom, I don't know how to do this. You've done this before, so can you help me? So I was actually at work at that time too. So I took my lunch break and we were strategizing and everything. And so I was like, okay, great. Like, I have to go back to work. Mom, can you finish this up? So she said, yeah, sure. So I went back to work. I got off of work and I contacted my mom and I said, how did everything go? She said, oh, yeah, we already placed the offer. I said, well, how much? You didn't even text me. You didn't even text me or tell me anything. Like, what do you mean? And so she said, oh, yeah, we offered 610,000. I said, where are you getting that money from? Because it's not for me.
The questions that need
It's not for
answers.
me. Because last I recall, it was listed for like 579, I believe, or something like that. And I said, hold on now. Who's offering all this? I didn't authorize any of this. So at that point I was
Mm-hmm.
nervous, because I was like, listen, like I have to move some things around and try and figure out how to pay for this, right? Um, and so things went through, the offer was put in and everything like that. They had several other offers, of course, because it's a brand new building. And I ended up not getting the offer. My offer not was not accepted. So I was sad, but not sad because I was relieved. I was like, oh, thank God. I don't want to be in a binding contract where I have to figure this whole thing out. I left that, and that's when I went to go buy the North Carolina property. So come around like maybe January, my realtor called me and said, hey, their offer fell through and they want to extend it to you. Okay, I'm ready now. You know what I mean? I'm ready now. I've figured out everything with this first one, and I think I'm ready to tackle another one. So I ended up purchasing that one. That one's been amazing. I just basically did the same thing I did for North Carolina, found all the a lot of the furniture and stuff on OfferUp or on Facebook Marketplace, and then I just used everything that I had in my rental and I brought it over because it wasn't being used. It was a 3-bedroom, and I wasn't using it. So that's how I got that one.
Wow. So wait, when did you close on the property in Fayetteville, the first one?
That one I closed in February of 2022. Yes.
Okay, so February of 2022, and then the next January, because they were still building the property, that was why.
Oh no, that same January. That
Oh,
same January. Yeah, that same January they offered it to me, but they weren't going to be done until around May,
okay.
June-ish. So I said, okay, I have enough time to it's enough time between the two.
Got it. Wow. So y'all, so many things that I want to make sure y'all don't miss from this story. One, again, the importance of your realtor, because just having that communication, her realtor was able to pick up the phone and let her know, hey, this opportunity that we try to get, just because they say no, it doesn't necessarily mean it's over. I have been in the same situation with clients where our offer didn't get accepted, and then whoever's offer they went with didn't go through. And so then they're trying to scramble, go back to other people who placed offers before to see if you're still interested. But also the fact that you were like, let's go. I'm ready now. I'm comfortable. I understand. Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
Right. Right. And I think it's so important, especially when you're dealing with numbers. Like numbers in North Carolina don't match numbers in California. And so when I saw that big number, I got immediately like nervous. And I needed to start with something smaller just to make sure that I could get a hang of it. I knew how to do it. And once I knew how to do it, it was.
That's a really, really good call. And so if you don't mind, how much was the home in North Carolina, the first one?
Yeah, that one I purchased for 180.
And did you end up going still with the 610 for the triplex?
I did. I had to.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I had
So
to. Yep.
that is something to keep in mind of, again, as we talk about the market and understanding the research that we need to do for different areas. I'm sure, especially being from California, a house for anywhere in the hundreds is unheard of. But getting whatever your comfort range is, not letting that stop you, because I know I have so many people are like, well, I'm in a high cost of living place. I'm just not going to do this. Why? And so there are so many ways to still get around that. And then you can build yourself up to then you do have $600,000 houses and you're much more comfortable. Now, you mentioned that this one had an AUD unit. For those that aren't familiar, can you explain a little bit more about what that entails?
Yeah. So an ADU stands for a accessory dwelling unit. So it's kind of like another unit that you add on to your single family home. So the way that they structured it was that it was going to be a two-level building, and on the top level was going to be the single family home, which had the two-bedroom, one bath. And then on the bottom, there was going to be an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit, a one bedroom, one bath, and then a JADU, which was a junior accessory dwelling unit. And that was going to be on the right side, also a one bedroom, one bath. And so they're just an additional unit that's added onto the building.
So, y'all, it's so important to see there's so many ways to be creative with these properties. There isn't a one size fit all. And y'all know I'm a huge proponent of the multifamilies. Why buy one door when you can buy three at this for the same? It's the same process, the same loan, everything. So that's amazing. So we got this Airbnb going in North Carolina. Do you Airbnb the triplex as well?
Yes, I was Airbnb-ing it for like the first year or so, but I've switched over to midterm rentals where I rent it out to hospital personnel. So that it's all full right now with that.
A little bit about that as well, because that is something that definitely in the market. And so especially with your background, for those that aren't familiar with the traveling healthcare professional world, can you tell us about a little bit about how that works?
Travel nurses come to places that remote, yes, but there are also places in the city that need travel nurses. So they're required, or their agency sends them out to places that need nurses because either they have high turnover rates, or it's an area that people don't want to go to, or whatever the reason is. And the hospital staff cannot, keep up with the work. So their contracts are usually 13 weeks, which is about 3 months and a week. And they come, they stay, they can extend as well. So when they extend, they're extending for another 13 weeks. And I often get people who extend. They usually always extend because they like staying there. In order to get them there, they offer them a premium. So they're getting premium rates, hourly rates. They're getting housing paid for. They're getting room and board paid for, food paid for. They're getting everything really paid for. And so because they are getting paid at these premium rates, they're able to pay premium prices. Of course, whoever the person is, comfort versus pricing may differ in what they prioritize. So they may look for a cheaper, place just to save a little bit more money in their pocket. Some people may look for a more comfortable place. So yeah, they come for 13 weeks. I've had a lady there. She's been there since last June, and she's been extending since. But the big thing is that they can only extend up to a year. So anything past a year, they cannot extend. So her year is going to be up in June.
Okay. Awesome. So they are getting their accommodations paid for through their agency that they work for, in addition to them also just getting their regular pay. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what does that contract look like? Because since it's usually, 13 weeks, that's an off number than what people are generally used to in terms of rental agreements. How do you process that?
Yeah, I use a platform called Turbo Tenant, and I'm able to, or basically put in the months in which I want them to stay. So they tell me, hey, I want to move in on the first, and I don't want to move out until 13 weeks later. So I schedule their lease just for that short period of time. And so because it's such a short period of time, they're okay with, an increase in the pricing, because, versus like a long-term tenant who's paying less. Short-term tenant furnished is a little bit more lucrative. So I usually just set it like that. And of course, they pay the normal security deposit. They pay a cleaning fee as well. And if they have any pets, then I'll have them pay a pet fee. And then usually I will cover all utilities, especially if they're staying for 6 months or longer. I will cover all the utilities, and that'll be included in their monthly rent.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So utilities included, it's furnished. And so because of that, they're paying more than what a typical long-term tenant will be paying, who then has to move in their own furniture and take care of their own utilities. And then if they extend, you just renew it for another 13 weeks in that same platform.
Exactly.
Love that. Y'all, we got to make sure that our leases are still good, regardless of how long someone is going to be staying in the property.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Now, so we got the Airbnb in Fayetteville. We got the triplex in Cali. And then there was an auction in Ohio. Is that the order?
So after that was another single family home in North
Oh, we
Carolina,
back in
in
my
Hope
neck of the
Mills.
woods. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Rhonda helped us do this one too?
Yep, Rhonda helped me do that one too. And that is one that I got in March of 2023. And that one needed a little work. It wasn't like everything was pretty nice for the most part, like the appliances worked and whatnot, but the bathroom is really outdated. So that was like my first experience of like doing a repair. So it's a very small repair, but a bathroom remodel. I had to pick out everything, make sure I liked how it looked and whatnot. So that was my first experience with that. And that one is an Airbnb, and it's still an Airbnb.
Okay. Now, what was that remodeling from a distance like?
A lot of phone calls and a lot of paperwork and a lot of my realtor just going out to check on things and me having conversations with the contractor. So I kind of just, at this point, I had my triplex. So, and I really liked the way that everything was set up. So I just took pictures of my triplex and I said, listen, just make it look exactly like this. That's all I want. You don't need to do anything else, nothing fancy. Just make it just look just like this. And so they kind of took that and they ran with it. And it turned out really nice.
No sense in reinventing the wheel. I love it.
Saying.
Now, you mentioned that you decided early on Airbnb and then the midterm rental with the triplex, that was going to be your focus. What were the key factors that led you to like, this is what I want to narrow down, and instead of the traditional long-term renters? Hey y'all, Tiffany here. Are you looking to purchase or sell real estate? As you know, I'm your aide to assets, and I want to help you with all of your real estate endeavors. Whether you're local here like me in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, I can then help you purchase or sell your next property. If you're looking to purchase or sell outside of North Carolina, let me know too. I can still help you. I have a team of agents all over the country that I can connect you with to partner on your next deal. Let's get to the closing table, y'all. We buy our way to wealth, whether that's buying right or selling better. Can't wait to hear from you. Click on the link in the bio if you want more information on how to personally work with me or an agent on my team. Talk to you soon.
Going into things, you have to figure out what your goal is. And your goal will set your actions going forward. And for me, my goal was to make it lucrative, financially lucrative. I wanted to make money. It wasn't about property acquisition in the beginning. It was more, how much could I make off of this investment that I'm making? That was my priority. And so that's why I knew long-term tenants. I knew that I was going to be taking a loss because I knew how much I could make with short-term rentals and with midterm rentals. And I think that was a main factor that was driving me more towards short-term rentals and midterm rentals. My second month, because the first month I was still setting up my triplex, but in my second month of owning the triplex and putting it up on Airbnb, I made over $10,000 just that month off of those 3 units.
No.
Now, yes. And so when I saw what that could do, I said, oh no, I'm not going to have any any long-term renters. I cannot do that right now because I want to be able to maximize this so that I can take the proceeds from what I'm making here and put it into another property. So that was my goal. Now that Airbnb has changed and things have slowed down a bit, or there's just been a lot more saturation, I think that's why I wanted to go into the midterm space, because I could still charge a little bit of a premium and all the furniture was there. And what am I going to do with all this furniture if I bring in long-term tenants? You know what I mean? So I said, I have to figure out how I can squeeze as much out of this as I can. So that's where midterm rentals got into play. Now, if midterm rentals ever slow down, which I don't think they will ever, because people are always going to be looking for, nurses to fill things, I think then I'll go more into a term renter. But for now, even with midterm renters, I will, it's furnished. So I will market it as a long-term rental. If someone wants to be in my space or be in, occupy my unit for a year and it's furnished, hey, I don't mind, giving you a little discount. It helps both of us. No problem. So yeah, I hope that answers your
It
question.
does. It's super helpful. Now, I'm curious, is especially because you realize early on how much of a significant increase that you were seeing in profits. How does that compare to the projections? Like, how did you determine what you were anticipating? What were those numbers? What was that process of running those numbers to decide on, okay, yep, I'm going to do the short term and this is what I'm anticipating, even if it exceeded your expectations?
For my first property in Fayetteville, I looked at AirDNA a lot. I'm sorry about that. AirDNA was able to give me a idea of the occupancy rate of Fayetteville, and so I knew the house that I was purchasing, it was like 77 or 80%. So I was like, if I'm booked 80% of the time, then I'm fine. I think I can deal with that. That's not a problem. For Eureka, though, with my triplex, that one, I knew that it was going to do well, mainly because there was a housing shortage at the time that I bought it. So people were constantly looking for things and they weren't finding quality things. And I knew with this new unit and with my staging experience, I can really make it nice and make someone want to live there. So, housing was short. There was a housing shortage. And there was a lot of people coming to the hospital there. I knew that it was going to do well. And then people come to visit the redwoods people love nature. I'm not really a nature girl, but there were so many people that came through Airbnb because they just wanted to be in nature. And there's a lot of big redwood trees. There's the beach there. There's a lot of things to do there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people visited. So I knew that that was going to do well. I didn't really look at numbers per
Okay.
se in
Mm-hmm.
Eureka, because I knew it was going to do well. Now people have caught on and, there's people building and, of course, like, just like any place, when people realize that there's money to be made in the area, people are going to come in and saturate it. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's in the process now, but I'm luckily still doing well.
Yeah. And that's definitely one of the benefits of being one of the early adapters. And so being able to set the stage and see that. So that's amazing. Okay. So now tell us about this auction. How did we decide we wanted to even buy a house off an auction? Did you go there? Walk us through that process.
So Ashley and I have always looked at Ohio. I always looked at Ohio. We've always looked at either Cleveland or Toledo, Akron. We just didn't know where. So we worked with a couple of clients as well, and we had them buy their first property in Cleveland because we knew that we could buy low there and we could rent high. So if I can buy a property for 25, 50,000 and I can rent it out for $1,000 a month, that's a great return on investment.
Yes.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we were like so set on looking there. And so I've been looking on online, at Zillow and Realtor.com, and wasn't really finding anything. I wanted to buy low and do like a value add, maybe repair some things and refinance. That was my whole thing. I wanted to do the BRRRR strategy, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like, let me go take a look at these auctions because sometimes you can find some really good houses on auctions. Of course, you wouldn't know what it looks like and you don't know like what's inside, but you can get a pretty good deal. So I had traveled to New York maybe about 2 weeks ago. And just one day, I think that Monday was the auction. So I said, I had done a little bit of research. And I said, let me just go on here and see what's going on this auction. So I was researching properties as they were going up for auction, like the ones I didn't get to. And there was one, I typed in the address and I was like, oh, this looks good from the outside. I noticed, I looked up an old listing. I noticed that it was recently listed like last year at like full retail price. So it wasn't like at a discount. So I knew like if
Mm-hmm.
someone's listing this last year, then it must be in good condition. And I saw some older
Mm-hmm.
pictures. So when I saw the pictures, I was like, this actually doesn't look that bad. And mind you, the auctions are going. So I'm like, I have to make this decision really quickly. So I went on PropStream and I was able to like put in the address and see like, are there any back taxes? Like how many times has it switched hands? Like what's going on with the property? And I said, you know what? I'm putting an offer in on it. I like it. I'm going to bid on it. And hey, if I can get it for a steal, I will do it. So I put my initial bid. I think the starting bid was like 30,000. I put my initial bid, and it just kept going and going and going. And I at the last time that I bid, I think I my final bid, my highest and best offer was going to be 75,000. I said, listen, this is my best offer. I know the house could be worth around 140-ish, but I'm going to put 75. And if I get it, great. If not, like, it's okay, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I put it in, and then the other people stopped bidding. And I was like, is this really going to close with my bid? Are we sure about this? And then it closed and it said, you're the winner. I said, wait, what? Did I actually
For
win?
75?
75K. I was shook.
Girl, I'm about to look at Ohio, and I've been looking, but the snow. I'm a Southern girl. I don't know nothing about that snow up there.
Listen, I'm a Cali girl, so I completely understand it. I completely understand it. But the 75K, I was just like, this is unheard of for a house that's actually worth 140. I was like, this is a steal. I can put the money in, I can refinance, I can get my money back out, and then my renter can pay my mortgage. It works out. So that's how I got that property, and I ended up having my realtor who was supposed to be looking for property for me. I just called her up. I said, hey, I know we've been looking for property, but I actually just bought one. Would you be able to help me? Like, I'm so sorry. She's like, wait, what? I said, I just bought one. Could you please help me out with this? And so she said, oh, absolutely. She went to go look at it. It looked great on the outside. She was able to meet the tenant. There was already a tenant in there, and the
Oh,
tenant wanted to
wow.
stay. She wanted to stay. And I said, listen, God is good.
All the
God is
time.
good. Praise God. Hallelujah. Amen. So it worked out great. It worked out great.
If you see me with a house in Ohio and I post it online, no, it was because of this conversation that gave me that extra gas. Because for real, I've been looking. Ohio is
Yes,
definitely
ma'am.
one of those markets where it's like, wait a minute, is this real? But I promise you, because of the weather, I'm just a little nervous, but I'm gonna go back. So many things there that's amazing. One, just the willingness to do it. I think that's for so many of our listeners, it's that paralysis of like, I want to do this, I want to jump in, but I'm afraid. So, of course, you've had some success under your belt. And correct me if this is incorrect, but I would assume that helped to build your confidence to be willing to then buy a house sight unseen, technically off the auction, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. This whole process, like just starting with my first one and
Yeah.
just knowing that I could do it, to going to the second one and the third one. And I would say it wasn't easy, but I would say that having a realtor and having a team made it a lot easier. Even my lender, I've known her for a long time because she
Mm-hmm.
lended on my mom's home. And she taught me a lot about the process of purchasing a home. And from there, I was like, I'm hooked. I need to educate myself. I need to be able to listen to podcasts like yours and get more information
Mm-hmm.
about what people are doing and how they're doing it and how they're achieving it. Because how do these huge real estate moguls purchase all these properties? How do they do that? How are they finding the funds? I need access to that information, that education, so that I can do the same. So, yeah.
And that's a great point. And so I want to touch on that. So let's talk about the funds because now we are three properties in, five doors before you even get the auction. So how has that funding been for you? I know you mentioned initially you had saved a lot of money during working and during the pandemic, but talk to us a little bit about that.
So my first purchase was funded by the pandemic money, and I still had some pandemic money left over for my purchase of my triplex. Now with that one, I was working, so I saved on average probably about 70 to 75% of my check because I house hack. So and even when I was renting, I was house hacking. I even when I bought my triplex, I was house hacking. So I've always house hacked. So I've never had to pay my own mortgage or my own rent because other
Mm-hmm.
people were paying it for me. So from that, I was able to save 75% of my paycheck each and every paycheck. So with that, I was able to purchase use some of that money to purchase my triplex. And then I used the rest of the money to purchase my single family home, the second one that I had in Hope Mills. And then for the auction property, and I don't know if everyone knows this, auction properties, you can't use financing. It has to be all cash.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I used one of my properties basically, and I got a HELOC on my property. And I had a goal in mind because I didn't want to open up a HELOC and then not use it appropriately. I wanted to make sure that when I got the money from the HELOC, I was going to put it into something, do a repair, a value add, and then refinance it, take my money back out, and then place a tenant in there, and have them pay the mortgage and then use my same money, recycle the same money to go buy another one. So that was
Yes.
always my goal. And that's how I stayed with it. That's why I bought the auction property, because I was like, you know what, if I put 75,000 into this, like that's how much I purchased it for. If I put an extra 10,000 to do a value add to it, and then I can refinance it because it'll be worth 140, I'll still get my money back and I can
Mm-hmm.
go get another one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I opened up the HELOC, and that's why I started this process. And with the final one that we closed on, actually, and I closed on yesterday, that one is a joint project with both of us. So we split it, and purchase price was about 14,000 because it's going to be a flip anyway. So it needed some work.
I love it. So y'all, one of the biggest takeaways that I hope that you all walk away with, typically it's just the first property that's the hardest, because once after you get into that first property, you can reuse that money. And so I love, Christine, what you mentioned about from the beginning, you already knew you had your end goal in mind of pulling out your money, refinancing, pulling out your money, so then you can move on to the next one. You are not living in the house, so your tenant is going to be paying the mortgage, paying all of the fees, everything like that. But it is just you being the investor and taking the initial responsibility of purchasing the house, but somebody else is paying it off for you. This is why I believe real estate is one of the greatest wealth building tools.
Beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm hooked.
It's also super cool too with the auction property that you mentioned, because a lot of people don't realize. So the property is being auctioned off because something happened with the seller. Whatever the case may be, they're, foreclosed or whatever. And so it's going up for auction, but there could still be a tenant that had nothing to do with the property. And so I love the fact that you highlighted that, because oftentimes we can buy these properties and then we do our due diligence, of course, in deciding if we want to keep that tenant. But you can come with a ready-made tenant. They've already been paying rent, but just for whatever reason, the seller wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing with the money. It does not automatically mean that renter was a bad renter. And so that's less work that we have to put in when we buy properties that are already tenant occupied.
Yeah. Very true.
Now, what was that process? Did you ever consider, do you want to keep this tenant, or did you automatically decide because they were in there, I'm just going to stick with them?
So I had my realtor do a little bit of research on the tenant. She was able to get a hold of the old listing agent that was listing the property before the listing expired. So she reached out to her, and she told my realtor that this was a really good paying tenant. She always paid on time. She was a Section 8 tenant, so of course you get your guaranteed funds from the government, and her portion was always paid on time. So so I knew that it was fine to keep her, and I didn't want to have to go get another tenant. Why would I put myself through that if I have a good paying tenant and I'm guaranteed money from the government? Like, It's a win-win. The only thing that I knew I had to do was to let her know that there's likely going to be a rent increase, and there will be. And which she said she knew because she has been there for the past 11 years, and she had a really good deal. Yeah, she had a really good deal with the previous owner because her rent was $925, and it had been $925 for the past 10 years.
Oh,
so she's aware. She said that she was aware. She was aware. I was like, I don't want this to hit you like a block, just coming out of nowhere, but. I want you to know that, the rent is going to go up, which she was aware of, and she's completely fine. And she was like, this is my home. Like, I've lived here for 11 years. I don't want to leave. And I was like, girl, I don't want you to leave. You can stay there. Okay. So there was like no doubt in my mind that I wanted to keep her. Now, if it was a different kind of tenant, someone who gave problems or, then I would have had to go through the eviction process.
Now, let's talk about property management now, because you do have a long-term tenant. And so this is the only unit that you have a long-term tenant in. What does that look like for you? Actually, let's go back. property management for the Ohio property, but also the Airbnb property too. Let's talk about how you're managing that.
My Airbnbs, I found cleaners for them before I even started. So I found cleaners either on Facebook Marketplace or on, they have like Airbnb cleaner. There's some cleaner website. There's a lot of cleaners out
Mm-hmm.
there, or a cleaning company. I found cleaners that do that. So basically, I set up everything and I gave them pictures. This is exactly how I want my Airbnb to look. Once you're done cleaning, this is how the pillow should be arranged. Everything was set out for them. And I just let them know, like, hey, I'm not living there. So I really expect you, and I'll pay you a little bit extra to make sure that things are in place. Or you'll tell me when things need to be restocked, or, and I'll just, so basically running it, I've been running all of them myself. It's honestly not hard. A lot of people think they have to hire a property management company. They have to. I don't personally think that you need to do that as long as you have a great cleaner. My cleaner is great. She will tell me you're out of towels, you're low on toilet paper, you're low on whatever it is that I need. But I also make sure that I stock my Airbnbs fully before I leave. So when I came there like 2 years ago, I made sure I stocked my my supply closet with so much stuff that I was like, I'm only going to come out maybe once a year to restock everything, and you just tell me what I need to do. So that was great. My triplex, I was living there. So I was Airbnb-ing all the other rooms, but I was living there. So I kind of did a little bit of my own property management, on-hand property management there. But then again, I had a great cleaner, and my cleaner's husband was a
Oh,
contractor.
clutch.
So anytime I had damages, I would just be like, can you tell
Yes.
your man to, get in here and do what I need to do? So she was amazing. He was amazing. And he did my like yard work and everything. So a lot of these people, they know people and they can direct you to people. My first lead has always been my realtor. My realtor told me this is a good cleaning company. This is someone that you can use. This is a handyman you can use. So I got a lot of my info from them. Now the Ohio one is a bit different because this is a long-term tenant. It snows over there, like you said. I would have to be responsible for that. And now I'm looking into getting more of a property management company. And usually their fee is anywhere between 8 to 15%. So I'm searching for one right now. And my realtor actually offered to do it. So she was like, "Oh, well, I can do it for you if you just want to pay me to do it." I said, "Oh, well, that works. I'll give you a portion of the rent. Like, it's just easy for me." So yeah, I'm in the process of finding one for that one now.
Love it. This has been absolutely amazing. So let me see. Have we covered all the properties at this point? Have we? No, the joint venture.
Yeah,
Y'all just closed.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
oh, oh,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
talk to us about that. Tell me,
That's so
okay,
true.
so
Sorry about that.
we know you and Ashley are girls. So
Yeah.
first and foremost, I think that more conversations. I love to see us women getting together and doing business well. And so talk to us about how this partnership even came about. What is it like working with your friend, that thing? Because I think we try to do so much alone and that's going to stop us. And so I definitely love and always want to encourage us to just figure out like-minded people that we can actually work and do business with. So what was that like for you?
Well, Ashley and I have been friends since 2008. We met in college. We both went to UC Santa Barbara together. And I've always loved Ashley since the time that I met her. I love her work ethic. I love how dedicated she is to her craft and honing it and just educating herself. And my mom loved her too. Like, absolutely loved her. She's like the only friend that my mom ever asked about. And so I knew that, we would always do something great together. Like, she's always been an inspiring person. And so we caught the real estate bug together and we were like, let's really do this. And as we were along our journey of just buying our own properties, I know that when we would advertise it or talk about it on Instagram or our stories or whatever, people would just be really interested and wanted to know more. So we were like, why don't we create a platform in which we can educate people on real estate, since people always ask us anyway. So that's how we created Moguls in the Making. And that's a platform where we kind of talk about We talk about real estate. We talk about our highs and our lows. We talk about the issues that we've had along the way. We talk about acquiring properties and everything. So we've always wanted to acquire property together. And like I said in the beginning, that was our first thing that we were going to do in Fayetteville before I kind of said, let me just do my own thing first, and then we'll come back together. So this is our first property together, which I'm so excited about. It's one of the things that we have not done. We've both done repairs. We've both done Airbnb, midterm renters, long-term renters, but we have not done a fix and flip. We have always wanted to do that, and that is what this project is. It's a property in Toledo, Ohio. We purchased it for $14,000. And we're expected to put about 10 to 15,000.
Wait a minute, Christine, hold on. You're not gonna run past that. Wait a minute, y'all. Aid to Access community, hear what I tell you. In 2024, I'm getting a property in Ohio. What?
Do it.
14,000?
14,000. Now, it needs work.
Okay, but what? I was about to say, what kind of house we talking about now for 14?
Actually, it's a 3-bedroom. If I'm correct, it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. And the outside is in great condition. The inside has 2 levels. There's a first floor and a second floor. The inside, the first floor had a fire. Okay.
That's okay.
Now,
good jobs are better. No, good jobs are better.
They are, right? Because everything is out. You can just lay it out however you want to lay it out. So a lot of people stray away from fire damage, but we have a really good contractor that's going to be working on it. He has experience with it. So the first floor was not in great condition, but the second floor is still in good condition because the fire didn't reach up there. But our contractor walked it. He said it looks good. The bones are great. All I really need to do is put some drywall up and, do a couple things. So we're going to put about 10 to 15,000 into it. And then, that's it. 10 to 15. I was shocked when I saw the number too. I was shocked. I did that same thing. I said, are you sure about this? And so we're budgeting, but even though a contractor tells you something, you have to budget for more than that. Okay. We're budgeting for about 30K of repairs. But even so, we did our numbers and it still works. And it's going to sell for about 85-ish thousand. And, since we pay cash, we could just sell it, get our money back and roll that into another one. So,
I want details. This is amazing. I love it. I'm so here for it. And people, that's one thing I'm learning because I have a goal. You messing up my goals, Christine, because one of my goals this year was to do a fix and flip, which maybe it needs to just be in Ohio. But that's one of the things that I'm learning is that full guts are so much easier to get paid for than like cosmetic or just like minor rehabs. So I love that. And I got a realtor in Ohio that I'm going to be calling after we get off of this. So wow. Okay, cool. So you and Ashley, y'all went on this together. So what does that look like? We've had people come on the show and talk about how they've done structured partnerships in different ways. What does that look like for you all?
So Ashley's an attorney, which I'm sure you know, but she is very keen on like making sure that there's agreements in place for every business decision that she makes. And so she was like, if I'm going to purchase a property with someone that's not my spouse or not my mother, it's important for us to have things laid out, which I completely agree with 100%. So we ended up creating an LLC. And both of our individual LLCs own our joint LLC. And so we purchased in our joint LLC. And our operating agreement basically states that we have 50% ownership. And if anything happens to one of us, then the property would transfer to the other person. So we have that in place. And it's important to have that in place when you're going into joint ventures with people that you know or you don't know. Whether you know them or not, no matter if that's like your best friend of all, you never know how things will go. You never know the course that your friendship will take. So, it's really important to cover yourself. And I completely agree 100%. So that's how I
love that. Y'all do the paperwork. Do the paperwork. It is not rude. It is not disrespectful. We are running businesses. And so do the paperwork every time. I love that. I love that. Christine, it has been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for walking us through your experiences.
Of course. My pleasure. I love talking about this. Like I said, Moguls _ in the making. That is our name on IG. And we talk about this all the time. We love to consult people and tell them what our journey has been. We don't like to gatekeep. We want to tell everyone this is how we got here, and let's see what your situation is, and let's come up with a game
Absolutely.
plan
Y'all
for
know we
you.
don't gatekeep around here. The information is free flowing. And so y'all tap in with Christine. Like I said, Ashley's for episode 14, but Moguls in the Making will also be tagged so you can have all of their information. They do consultations. How can people reach out if they were interested in a consultation?
Yeah, just DM us, or fill out our type form. Yeah, and that'll have all the information on there that we need to consult you.
Love it. Okay, so before we wrap up, one of the things that we like to do here on the Aid to Assets podcast is a little vision casting. We believe in making our intentions known and clear. So when you think about you and your real estate business in the next year, 3 years, your choice, what is going to be true for you? So when we watch this, then we'll be like, she said she was going to do that. What's going to be true for you in your real estate?
Yeah, I plan to start owning commercial buildings. I plan to hopefully, I mean, it'd be great to do this full time, but I still do love what I do. So I plan to be higher up in the hospital. My end goal is really to be the CEO of a hospital. So that's what I plan on doing, but I love real estate, so I'll still do that on the side as well. But yeah, definitely getting into commercial property. Definitely getting into multi-unit properties. I do have my triplex, but I like to get into, like, 20, 40 units, 100 units. I want to get into bigger properties. And I want our business to succeed, me and Ashley's business to succeed, and us to get more and more people involved and just get more and more people interested in
Love it.
real
Let me
estate.
find out she's going to
So,
be owning a hospital that you're the CEO of.
hey now, from your lips, from our lips to God's ears. Amen. Hallelujah.
That's it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you again, Christine. I am so grateful that you came on and shared your experience. Y'all, like I said, Christine, is Mogul in the Making? That's the business. Are you on social media personally as well that people can follow?
Yeah, I am. I'm at Love IJXO.
Got it. So that'll also be in the description. Y'all definitely tap in with Christine, Moguls in the Making. Ask your real estate questions. Y'all know we believe in helping everyone get to the closing table. Until next time, this has been another amazing episode of the Aid to Assets podcast. Bye.
Hi.
Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Aid to Assets. Remember, your journey from 9-to-5er to successful real estate investor is within reach. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing in your future. If you'd like to know more, connect with me on Instagram at Aid to Assets. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, happy investing.